American, you've probably heard this one before. Capitalism means freedom.
Yeah, that's right. Free and voluntary exchange of goods and services is freedom. Controlled economics, not freedom. I mean, what a wild concept that being able to choose who to do business with is freedom, and the government sticking a gun in your face and telling you what to do is not. Crazy, right?
With the liberty of the free market, the thinking goes, individuals are empowered to make their own decisions. Sounds good, right?
Sounds good, right? Yeah. Because it is good. It's good.
If you buy into this logic, then any alternative with more role for the public seems oppressive and tyrannical.
A role for the public and what exactly? Oh, yeah, that's right. What I do with the fruits of my labor. Yeah, we should let the public decide. That way I can technically be a slave to the public, right? That's what these communists promote, slavery. So everything that I work for, they get to decide what to do with it. So therefore, I'm their slave. That's how it works.
One where other people make all the decisions for you. Appealing in theory. In practice, not true.
Man, if only we had some kind of example of a socialist state that we could look to. If only socialism had been tried before so that we would know if her claims of this being untrue is true or not. If only. If only.
Our economy isn't about freedom at all. Just the opposite. American capitalism today is defined by an overwhelming lack of freedom for the vast majority of people and incredible dictatorial power for a few people at the very top. That's because we have allowed big corporate monopolies to take over a lot of the work of government.
You know, there is an anti-monopoly law in this country, and there really is only one monopoly in the United States, and that is the government.
And replace public institutions with private for-profit ones.
Yeah, you guys remember when healthcare was a public institution and then we replaced it with a private one for profit? You guys remember that? Yeah, me neither, because that never fucking happened.
They have gobbled up small and medium-sized businesses so they can set all the terms.
You know, it is actually true that corporations have gobbled up a lot of small businesses, but it's not because of free market capitalism, it's because of government protectionism. The government puts barriers to competition in place in favor of corporations at the expense of small businesses, and that is a problem. That's called cronyism, and a lot of times these people will conflate cronyism and capitalism, and they are two very different fucking things. An example of this would be the economic shutdowns that all these Democratic governors have ushered in. And what this has done is shut down small businesses, run small businesses completely under, while Amazon grows and grows and grows. And Democrats do this kind of shit all the time, and Republicans used to do this stuff a lot. But to be completely honest with you, the Republican Party has changed a whole lot in the last 15 years.
You hear a lot about the freedom to choose. But what does that freedom really mean? Sure, we can choose between different eyeglass companies until we learn they're all owned by the same company.
Hey, you know that all eyeglass carriers aren't owned by the same company? Because that would be a monopoly, and then it would be busted because we have a monopoly busting law in place in the United States. This is what you call stupid communist bullshit.
Behind the scenes. We can choose between Budweiser, Skoal, or Beck's beer. But they're all owned by the same company, too.
If only we had like 4 different kinds of beers, we could solve that problem. We just need a 4th beer, guys.
And when it comes to work, where most people spend most of their time, people don't have much freedom at all. Despite claims that workers freely enter into a contract to sell their labor, there's no free choice between working and not working. In a country like ours, where 40% of people can't scrape together $400 in an emergency, the reality is...
The 40% of Americans are losers that don't know how to manage their money?
That you either work or you starve.
Work or starve. Yeah, that's a reality that predates capitalism. It predates money. It predates the human species. You see, so if you were out in the woods, away from society, you could not possibly be more free. And if you did not work, you would starve. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the zebra doesn't work to get the lion, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. If the lion doesn't work to get the zebra, he starves. Economics isn't just how money moves. That's what these leftists get mixed up on because they're obsessed with other people's money and other people's wealth, and they lust for it and they greed for it so bad. They don't understand that the economy is also how food moves and everything else. So the only reason that people in this country get away with not working and they're still able to eat is because they're eating off of the labors of other people. So my labor is putting food in their mouths, and your labor puts food in their mouths, and the rich man's production puts food in their mouths, and they just sit there with their fucking mouths open and bitch that you got more than they do.
You don't have several months to take time off and carefully choose a good employer.
Yeah, so here's a concept. Take the fucking shit job, and then while you're working the shit job, apply everywhere else that you can. Maybe go to trade school, learn how to weld, drive a truck, fucking do anything. Construction. Who gives a shit? Any trade. Just do anything other than bitch because fucking some rich dude has more than you do.
In order to survive, people submit to working menial, unrewarding jobs for little pay, no security, and bad benefits.
Yeah, and then they're just stuck there at McDonald's forever, right? There's no way that they could like advance in the company or get a different job or anything. They're just stuck there. They can't do anything. I can't do nothing for myself.
And once they're on the job, that lack of freedom only gets worse. When we go to work, we check our hard-won rights at the door, and your employers rule over you night and day.
Man, this just assumes that everyone in the world is a beta cuck that just gets pushed around like a little bitch by everyone in their lives. Look, if you ever find yourself in this position where it's like, come in tomorrow or you're fired, LOL, then your employer has no respect for you, and it's probably because you don't actually bring anything productive to the company.
Big corporations like Amazon punish workers for speaking out. Many corporations are now spying on workers' political activities. They intrude into people's private lives, monitor their social media, and regulate their breaks. In poultry plants across the country, workers are penalized for simply using the bathroom, to the point that they wear adult diapers and avoid drinking water so as to keep working.
Look, when I first saw this, I was like, this couldn't possibly be true. People wearing diapers and all that, you know? So I did a little bit of digging around, and turns out that my instinct was correct. This shit ain't true. According to Oxfam, which is like an international poverty and justice advocacy group, which is like code word for we promote socialism, they said that they were told this by some anonymous employees in like 4 different poultry plants, like they've all adopted this diaper shit or whatever, and they reached out to them and yeah, basically they were like, we don't know what you're talking about. Where's this happening at? And Oxfam couldn't tell them. Like, who said this? What plan is this? Oxfam couldn't tell them. They're like, hey, we have an anonymous number where they can call and report this stuff because that's illegal, and we don't allow that here. And you can look it up on Snopes, and they go through all of it and all the responses from all the companies and everything. And it's a completely unsubstantiated claim by anonymous sources, allegedly. And even though Snopes has all that information up, they still never really say it's unsubstantiated, of course, because Snopes is a serious hub of leftist pricktology.
That's not freedom. And when the boss decides to fire you, there's no due process. Like a feudal lord, he can fire and punish workers at will. In practice, American workplaces are like private governments, where the freedoms we associate with democracy don't exist.
Why the hell do people associate freedom with democracy? I'm seriously glad that we don't live in a democracy. This is a constitutional republic with democratically elected representatives. This is not a democracy. There is no freedom in democracy. There's only oppression of the majority. So it's like, you know, if me and 9 other guys are sitting around on a Tuesday and I'm wearing a blue shirt and everybody else votes to shoot anybody in the face who's wearing a blue shirt on Tuesdays, well then, there goes my freedom. There's also nothing inherently good or right about democracy. Just because the majority of people want something doesn't mean that it's good. Period. And the Founding Fathers knew that. That's why we created a constitution.
When we clock in, we become subjects, not citizens.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we should be citizens of the companies that we work for. What the fuck, bitch?
Without anti-monopoly regulations to restrict their size, or labor unions to contest their power over employees,
Holy fuck, we have both of those things. Amazeballs. So, like, yeah, even though I did quit a union job for a better paying job, because it turns out that collective bargaining is really good for people who don't have much to offer as an individual. But individual bargaining, when you're actually bringing something to the table, is a lot better.
Corporations and their wealthy CEOs have as much power over ordinary people as any government agency, if not more.
Oh, no, no, no. That's actually what she's doing. She's trying to act like we don't have monopoly laws and labor unions in this country. These guys only have like 73,000 more subscribers than I do. What in the name of Zeus's butthole?
How dare you?
Despite the lie that our market is free, most industries are dominated by a few massive firms. 2 corporations control office supplies. 5 corporations control food. 2 corporations dominate retail. 4 corporations control home internet. 1 corporation dominates books. Instead of free competition, the status quo is monopoly control. Huge corporations set the terms and manage the economy from their perch at the top of the market, deciding who succeeds and who fails.
Her problem isn't really that there are people who decide who succeeds and who fails. Her problem is that she's not the one making those decisions. That's the problem that all leftists have with this shit. And they'll talk shit all they want about corporations, but god dang, they were sure taken up for Netflix a couple weeks ago. Oh, by the way, Netflix has been indicted for CP in Texas. Amazing.
Amazing. That is amazing. Amazing.
When Facebook decides to promote a political agenda to benefit itself, who can stop them? When Amazon decides it doesn't like a particular book, that book can vanish from the place most everyone buys books.
Yeah, some of these companies like Amazon and Facebook and Twitter or whatever, they do need to be looked at for monopolies, but that really doesn't have anything to do with this leftist narrative that's being pushed. As a matter of fact, it's the anti-free speech left that throws a fit and gets these books banned off of Amazon. It's really Amazon just kowtowing to people like this woman.
When Pfizer decides to raise insulin prices ahead of a shareholders meeting, it's done. And people die as a result.
Yeah, you know what? In a free market, you could just buy your insulin from someone else.
Isn't that amazing?
Good Lord, these are some garbage people, right? Just anything to justify more control in their hands. Anything. They don't care. They don't stand for anything. Just give us more power. That's all we want.
Unless, of course, you just want people to die.
This has been DWB. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't be a fucking commie.